So how does inflation influence gold prices? In theory, there should be a positive relationship between inflation and gold. That is to say, a rise in CPI, Consumer Price Index, should lead to a rise in gold prices. And a fall in CPI should lead to a fall in gold prices. But in reality, we don't really see that playing out. So if you look at 1980s, we do indeed see that there is a positive relationship. We can see that as the CPI increased, gold price also increased. So the theory does hold there. But if you look at 2010, we actually see a negative relationship forming. So we can see that as the CPI decreased, gold price increased. So that means that the theory does not hold. It does not hold anymore. But why is that the case? Well, following the 2008 global financial crisis, which the effects lingered on till 2010, 2011, which is what we see here, a rapid increase in gold price, there was an economic contraction. And as a result of this economic contraction, central banks around the world used quantitative easing to help rejuvenate the economic expansion, or at least some kind of recovery, and most importantly, to inject liquidity into the market, especially the stock market and real estate. So normally, quantitative easing increases inflation, as it entails an increase in money supply, and increase in money supply leads to a devaluation of the currency and reduction of purchasing power, which should mean that CPI should increase. But this did not happen. CPI actually decreased. So why did the CPI not increase? So quantitative easing, which basically boils down to injection of money into the stock market or the real estate market, which is faltering. But this injection of money caused the stock prices and home prices to go up. And this further incentivized people to put more money in the stock and real estate markets. So as a result, there was more money chasing these assets, the newly created money by the central banks, and people's own money, their own savings. They're using it to invest in these assets. So the combination of these two things led to asset price inflation. But in the meantime, there was less money chasing goods and services. Hence, there was a deflation in the price of goods and services, which is why CPI decreased, because CPI, Consumer Price Index, mainly measures the typical basket of goods and services, the price of them, the aggregate price of them, that households typically consume. It does not take into account the price of assets. So this is the reason why CPI decreased. But why did the gold price increase at this very moment? So asset price inflation that I just talked about creates a bubble, an economic bubble. It creates a bubble in markets, in real estate and stock market in this case. And this bubble essentially means that there is a boom. There is an economic boom, things are going well, everything's going up. But obviously every boom must be followed by a bust. And so as the risk of bust increases, you get uncertainty, volatility, increased financial risk in markets. And combination of these factors leads to more gold demand. And more gold demand equals to increased gold prices. And this is exactly what we see on the chart. So overall, the relationship between inflation and gold really depends on economic context. In the past, it was positive, but that was when currencies were actually coupled with gold. Because if the central bank printed more money, that means that the price of gold, the rise in it, should be proportional to the increase to the money supply as much as possible. But obviously we see that now it is no longer positive, it is actually negative. And this is mainly due to natural supply and demand forces at play, and also because currencies right now, they are no longer coupled with gold. The price of gold really depends on natural supply and demand forces. And so as a result, we see this negative relationship now in between inflation and gold.